Sweet. All right, so let's dive into it. So this free training is kind of an experiment from myself. So to see whether the things I learn myself and that I experience with teams when I'm working with teams and organizations is of any value to anyone else. So if you have any feedback on that, you can let me know afterwards. I'd be happy to get your feedback on that. And now, without further ado, let's start in. We're here to talk about self-organized teams. And in the subtitle, you see what it's all about, how to foster real collaboration and boost productivity without being hated by your team for wasting everyone's time with awkward methods. I guess we've all been there. So let's see how this goes. So since you're here and you're interested in this topic, I'm guessing that you are either responsible for a team or working within a team and you know, learning about those things. So sorry for the blurry image, but I think you get the idea. So have you ever felt when working with your team as a team leader, as a team member, and someone presented you with yet another great framework or tool, did you ever feel like this? I think this is the bar from Ted Lasso, right? So you don't know what you're doing, like what the hell? When we as, team leads or managers, we kind of want to feel like this, right? So everything's in motion. We have success as a team. There's great collaboration. There's great productivity. We want to feel like this. And love Ted Lasso. Yeah, Ted Lasso is it's a great show. Always recommend. So when we talk about this as team leads or managers or people with a lot of responsibility within a team, we want to feel like this, right? And I'm going to talk about a few things, how to make steps towards that direction. So I'm not going to present you with like a magic wand or anything that makes everything go away within a glimpse, but there's something that I learned and experienced that I want to share with you. And maybe you can work with it with your team. So starting having to navigate through various screens here. Let's see. All right, so what we're covering today. We have a quite tight session, and the thing that I'm covering is pretty extensive, but I've tried my best to, like drill the essence of it into this format. So you'll have like a very dense learning nugget. So what we're covering today, you might recognize this from the landing page. We're going to go over the reasons why so many team development approaches fail to serve the actual needs. Maybe you recognize some of these. Then I'm going to share with you the loop approach that I came across a few years ago and the 3 essential pillars of it. And how to systematically reflect and evolve your team's collaboration model. And throughout the presentation, I'm going to give you a few tools and tips to try out immediately, like without doing this whole loop approach thing, but there are things that you could do today or tomorrow with your team. So we'll be here for around 60 minutes. Now, looking on the clock, we'll have another 50 minutes together. And there will be time for a Q&A at the end. So you can post your questions in the chat, or since we are such an intimate crowd, I guess we could do this by unmuting your mic in the end. But if questions come up during the presentation and you don't want to forget them, post them in the chat and I'll come back to them. All right, a little bit about me. My name is Sandy. You see me here in various situations. Mostly I'm on the top right corner working remotely with teams. On the top, in the lower left, you see me in a very rare occasion where I did a workshop in person. That was in Istanbul, actually, last year, which was great fun. Although the venue was 3 floors below ground level, so no fresh air, no sunlight, no daylight, which is kind of hard to, have a whole day workshop, but still, it was great fun. So back in the day, I studied tourism management, and after my first job was with a startup that turned into kayak.com. You might be familiar with that, the meta flight search engine that's now owned by either Priceline or Booking or both. I kind of lost track, but I started there, and then I went to another startup where we introduced OKRs. If you're not familiar with OKRs, it's a whole framework. It's short for Objectives and Key Results, which is a great tool for agile strategy work. But that's not the topic what we're talking about today. After we got introduced to Objectives and Key Results, which is, I'm gonna have another participant here. After we introduced OKRs at our organization, I got into this whole agile world, and I soaked up everything there was. Hi, Philip. And I got into systemic coaching. Did a whole training on that, and I combined it with, like workshopping, OKRs, and helping teams in organizations to, have a better collaboration model. And what it all comes down to is that I've always worked with teams, right? I've worked in teams as a team member, I have worked in teams as a team lead, and I have worked with teams as a team coach. So I have various perspectives on how teams work, what teams need, and it's always different, right? So every team is different. Every organization is different, every team is different. And while working mostly with OKRs, Objectives and Key Results, I noticed that there's always kind of something missing, right? So they have this whole new framework, or they, like developed a common vision for the organization, and the teams wanted to, do better work and stuff. But there was always something missing, like something that the organization didn't really account for. And I think this could be put into the realm of team development, team coaching, or organizational development. And while I've been doing this with all the trainings that I had, like from my systemic coaching training, or from all the agility trainings that I had, I always kind of invented my own approach, and I just like sensed and respond, right? Like a good agile value there. But I kind of felt like there's always something missing, or I had to invent the wheel always had to invent the wheel from the start with working with every new team. And I was looking for kind of like a meta framework that gave the team structure, or gave me as a coach structure, to develop within, but also giving a lot of freedom to see what the team actually needs. And so, I started basically my journey looking at the reality of teams, the reality of team leads and managers, because I was one of them, right? And there's a lot of expectations on team leads or managers, right? And so when I talk to team leads or managers, or I remember my own situation, there's a lot that is expected of team leads, right? So they're or managers, they're responsible for team performance, for development, for productivity. Well, maybe performance and productivity is the most in for-profit organizations, right? We want employee engagement, we want innovation, we want great collaboration, we want agility, whatever that means, depending on who you're asking, and so on and so on, right? So we basically want the greatest team. And yet, as team leads, we're not equipped, or we haven't been trained to see, like, how can we really foster that, or how can we really improve engagement, or improve productivity, or improve innovation, right? And so what team leads and managers tend to do, or what organizations as a whole tend to do when wanting to improve those things, is basically one of these, right? So team building events, trainings on whatever, ranging from, like a feedback training or problem solving training, what have you, right? More meetings, right? So we want to collaborate more, so we have more meetings. We try icebreakers to get to know each other better. We do team offsites to, like really spark the creativity. Or we introduce frameworks and methods, specifically like Scrum or OKRs, as I said, or SAFe for the entire organization, or the Spotify model. Always in search for like that one system that will work for this one team and the entire organization, like the whole culmination of teams within the organization. So everything stays stable. We are innovative and dynamic. And so there's a variety of things that we throw at teams and organizations, right? And while by doing that, the intentions might be good, or with the best intentions, and people just don't really know what to do, and they read up on stuff that helped other teams, and they're looking for best practices, which is basically, like, honestly better than doing nothing. But sometimes it's not really reflected, right? What this thing is going to help us with. And maybe you were in the situation where you tried something like this, and it just didn't work, or it just kind of fell short. So maybe it solved one part of your problem, like working with OKRs, right? So we have like alignment throughout the company, where our strategy is going, where we want to be in the future, how do we stay relevant for our customers for the next 10, 20, 50 years. And some part of the organization takes care of that, right? But then there's other parts, right? There's other areas that we need to stay dynamic and in our feet, and then OKRs doesn't solve that, right? So why do these many attempts fail, although with the best intentions? Sometimes they're one-off events, right? So as I said earlier, there's team offsites, there's team building events to help engagement and build trust within the team, for example. But they're one-off events, and there's no follow-through, right? So it might be fun and good, and people are getting along, but then the reality kicks in. So disconnected from the team's reality, right? So if you introduce a method or other, like Scrum or OKRs, it's not for every team, and it's not for every context, right? Why should an accounting team work with Scrum? Doesn't make any sense. Whereas a development team might be very well off working with Scrum, or experimenting with it, at least. So sometimes the things that we offer to the teams, it's very disconnected from the team's reality, and they're like, no, we don't really know that, or that won't really work for us, right? And then it turns to awkward stuff that doesn't serve any purpose, right? Like the random team building event, or the random icebreaker, or introducing a Kanban board, or whatever, like all of these best practices that might sound like a good idea, but introduced unreflected just feels awkward and stiff, and doesn't really serve the team's purpose, or the purpose of the organization. And when we introduce new things, and we want people to do something different, and then the structures stay the same, right? So maybe you as a manager, or as a team lead, or your boss or your boss's boss is still the bottleneck for all the team's problems and ideas, right? So you tell the team to act differently, but the structures stay the same. And thus we're perpetuating the ping pong ball mode, right? So as a team, we don't have any circle of influence. We always have to, for example, wait for the decisions for our managers. And there's no autonomy, there's no dynamic, and everything takes very long to decide, basically. Plus, we're always in search for the one method. I say we, a lot of people who have the best interests, but they find one method, wanting to, solve the problem, and then it doesn't work within the first 4 weeks. So they're looking for another and another and another. And as you can imagine, maybe you've been in this situation as a team member. It gets very tiring, and you do one thing one day, another thing the next, and it falls short to like really have an impact on the team after a while. So what I want to talk about today is the loop approach, which is kind of a team development and transformation framework that I've come across a few years ago. Here you can see me obtaining my certificate. Always need a certificate in Germany, right? And I got to know all the things inside it, and it's not the holy grail, like nothing is, but I feel like after I put it to practice and I tried the whole approach and parts of it with teams, it really helps them, right? So there's really some freedom in there to really get to self-organization, because that's what we basically need, right? When we work with agile frameworks, when we want to learn how to being able to transform our organization from the inside out, right? To sense and respond, to see what we need, and adapting accordingly, and not following any new trend. So I'm not going to send a trend with a loop approach. I think it's not very well known yet. It's been developed by a consultancy in Berlin. It's called The Dive, and that's why there's a little trademark in there. I will go over the 3 modules and the 7 key capabilities that we're covering within those 3 modules very quick, and just to give you an overview what the contents are in there. So there's the loop approach is not something completely new, but the combination of methods and behaviors and practices is kind of new. So there's a lot that you can find from holacracy. There's a lot you can find from spiral dynamics, and so on. Nonviolent communication. We'll go over the contents in a second. But the combination of those things is pretty powerful, I find. Like as I said, I put it to practice immediately after I got my certification, even before that. And what I found with the teams that I tried it, even just parts of it, it was really eye-opening for them. And that's why I wanted to do this free training and do this webinar to have more people know about it. So you can see here, the loop approach is a book that you can get from the Dive's website. Just type it in your favorite search engine, you'll find it. All right. So here's the loop approach timeline. This is also a very good thing. As you can see, it takes 2 to 3 months for one team to go through an entire loop. And we have about 4 to 6 weeks between each module. And each module is basically a workshop, right? Like a 2-day workshop where we cover the contents of each module. And the good thing is that we work with the team's reality, right? So this is not like a theoretical training, and no artificially created situation where we have like a mock planning or a mock this and that, but we work with the team's reality from day one. And so the workshops themselves are part training, but more like actual workshops where the teams really work on their stuff. So let's see. So the first module is clarity. And in clarity, as the name suggests, sorry, I just had a pop up there. We want to bring everything to the table, right? So we see what the reality of the team already is. We want to see where they stand, and we want to see, well, first of all, why does this team exist, right? So in the first module with the title clarity, 2 days, we're going to look at why does the team exist, right? And answering this question, we will find the purpose of the team. So the term purpose, I know it's been has been used quite extensively. What it really means is actually the answer to just that. Why does our team exist? What do we do? And it's not like a marketing slogan for external use, but it's directed inwards. It's just for the team and for the organization. So we know what to expect from the team, and we know how to make decisions. Does this project fall into the purpose of our team or not, right? And we will not like create a purpose for the team. We just look what's there, and we take the essence and visualize it, right? So this is the first thing that is very illuminating for a lot of people to see, well, what are we actually here for, right? The next thing that we're going to make visual is people's potential, right? So we're focusing on strengths and skills and resources and interests from the team, and what each team member is doing. Are they really working with their strengths, or could they be more productive somewhere else, right? And just to see, this is not just about the team, but it's about the team members as well. So during this whole journey, during this whole loop, the team itself will create a new sense of awareness, and also each team member will create a new sense of awareness. And the preamble of that is, we don't want to, like change someone's mindset or whatever. So the principle here is change your behavior first, and then see what it does to your mindset, right, and to your approach. But just try a new behavior and see what it does for you. And then the last thing that we're working on within the first module, which is clarity, is accountability, right? Who's responsible for what and when? So we don't want a whole team of homers, right? This is not in my job description. This is not my job. But as you might have noticed, or you might have experienced in working with teams or working within a team, there's always more tasks than fit any job description, right? Job descriptions are not very handy or practical in day-to-day's work and reality. So we need to see, we just map out, like, what does the team do, right? So the purpose helps. And then we see, okay, like, what tasks are recurring? What do we do, like, each and every day recurrently? And then map out who's doing that. Or maybe we'll see that very important tasks are always overlooked or always done by, the same 1 or 2 people. We're just like, yeah, it's not in my job description, but it's important and I have to do it, right? But nobody really knows it. It's always implicit, and we want to make things explicit, because we only when we see things and make things explicit, we can talk about it and change it too. So that's what we're doing in the first module. We'll visualize everything that's there, right? And then after this first module, the team goes out with this new sense of awareness, with maybe they created new roles, right, within the team, and try to work within roles. They They observe what having a purpose does to them, how they make decisions, how they take on tasks, and so on. So the one thing that you can do with your team right now, obviously, is bring that purpose to the surface. Answer these following questions with the team. Why does your team exist? Like, what jobs to be done are we providing in this organization? And what would be missing if this team didn't exist, right? Just to get a sense of awareness what it actually is that we're doing as a team here. All right. 4 to 6 weeks, and we'll go into another module that's called results. Managers love results, don't they? All right. So it's also a two-parter. It's two workshop days, and we'll take a look at, well, first, the personal effectiveness, where team members get the chance to reflect on the way they work and the way they structure their work, the way they say yes or no to tasks or projects. And there's various methods that can be helpful, like getting things done. But it really is kind of like an exchange and see where everyone is struggling, or if they are struggling, right? So if they're not struggling with personal effectiveness, this can be a very short workshop, and we can go to the next thing, which is everyone's favorite topic, meetings, right? Team effectiveness. How are we structuring our meetings so they don't suck and are actually useful? The percentage here to the right within the images is from a survey from 2022, where a bunch of US citizens were interviewed about meeting attendance, business meeting attendance, and 58 said that they would rather go to a doctor's appointment than being in a work meeting, and 25% would rather sit in traffic, which is kind of an indictment of the meeting culture of this organization, right? And I guess like meetings is something that we all experience that is a pain for a lot of organizations. And within this module, we'll look at two new meeting formats, which is structured by area that we're working in. So the first meeting is basically a sync meeting for all the operational stuff, where we update each other about projects, about KPIs, about checklists, and see what's up. And there's another that's called the governance meeting, where we reflect on our team structure, our team's rules, our team's roles, accountabilities and stuff. So the sync meeting, while it's operational, it's basically every week, and the governance meeting that we're looking at in this module is scheduled for like every 4 to 6 weeks. So the first one is working within the structure, working within the team, the organization, and the second one is working on the structure, on the team. All right. What's new to these two meeting formats is that there are distinctive roles to facilitate these meetings. So there's always a facilitator running this meeting. And whereas you might not be able to start with a sync meeting or a governance meeting right after this webinar or this free training here, but you can facilitate the meetings that you already have, right? Or the workshops that you already have, right? Ask someone to facilitate your meetings. There might be someone in your organization who has moderation skills, or even if you're interested to, just, time box or help the team make a decision, if the meeting is about making a decision, just workshop it, and it will bring a whole new a whole new experience for your meetings. All right. With these two meetings and the new tools for personal effectiveness, we let the team try that out for another 4 to 6 weeks. And before we come to the evolution module, they will have had a few sync meetings that they ran through, 1 or 2 governance meetings that they ran through, and they experienced it firsthand. Also, in the results module, we will create the structure of those meetings with the team, what they need with their content, and so they can try it out there and then. So they're good to go on their own during those 4 to 6 weeks. All right. The last module is called evolution, and this is where we put all of these things to practice and refine them more, right? So structural adaptation is the 6th of the 7 key capabilities, and we ask the question, or we answer the question, how can we continuously identify ways to refine and evolve our team structure? Right? Because as I said, one of the biggest pains of organizations or teams is that when they introduce like a kind of rigid model or method, and they come across a situation where it doesn't fit, they're stuck, right? Because they don't know what to do. With working with this loop approach and teaching the team how to, take steps into self-organization, being aware of what they need, and adapt within their circle of influence is a lot more helpful than looking for another method, right? So another situation comes up, and the team or the organization needs to, adapt, and maybe they need to create a new role, or they need to create new accountabilities, what have you, right? And in these situations, we want to make sure that they have the ability to, sense the gap between what it is right now and what needs to be, and have the ability to process those sensations that we call tensions in here, right? Tension is also based in holacracy. It's tension-based working. And tension is not only a negative connotation here, like a conflict or something, but it's basically anything that has the potential of improving things, right? A tension might be an idea, or a tension might be a missing information, or a tension might be an information that I have and I want to give it to someone else, right? And we want to make sure that people are trained in sensing them and processing them, and bringing it to the table with a proposal, right? With a proposal to improve or to try out. And what we want to do with the structural adaptation here is to reach a situation where we can run an experiment that is safe enough to try, right? All right, so let's try out this new role, and we'll give it to Philip, and Philip accepts, and we'll try that out for 4 weeks, and then we regroup and reflect on whether that helped with our problem or not, right? Also, how we make decisions in teams, right? Most of you might know the decision-making technique of consensus, where everyone has to say yes, which takes a long time, and until everyone says yes, the proposal might have watered down to a solution that doesn't really solve our problem, right? So there's other techniques to reach a decision that is safe enough to try, good enough for now, and that fits various situations. And we will go through that within this module. Plus, we will also give some input on feedback and conflict competence, right? So there's a lot of techniques and approaches out there how to, give feedback or dealing with conflict. What we want to offer here is the steps of effective communication, which is based in nonviolent communication. The name is kind of misleading at some point. So I'll just go with effective communication, where we again start with ourselves, right? We want to understand what is my need, what is it that is important to me in the situation. And then I can, reach out and try to understand the other party. So we can have a conflict conversation like adults, right? And so false harmony never helped anyone, at least not in the long run, right? Everybody love everybody. That's not the reality. And conflicts are actually an opportunity for improvement, right? So if the conflict wouldn't exist, there's nothing to care about, right? So what we offer here in this module is training and the steps of nonviolent communication, or effective communication, if you will, so that people are better able to understand themselves, what they need, and then being able to have a fruitful conversation. All right. One thing you can do with your team right now is type in delegation poker into your search engine of your liking, and just reflect how decisions are being made within your team, and in what situations another decision-making technique might be more fruitful, right? So especially when you're watching this as a team leader or a manager, and you want to get rid of this bottleneck role for every decision, every problem, every idea, and just try it out with your team to delegate some decision making. It doesn't make sense where it doesn't make sense that you alone as a manager make this decision, and just map it out, make it visual, make it explicit, play it with the team, and start making first few little amendments, adaptations. I think there's also an online version of this. Okay, so this was the loop approach in like super fast track. For me, when I did the training for it and then worked with teams with this approach, is that it all comes down to acting. Act. Don't just react. If you want something to change, you have to act. If you want to improve your relationship with a colleague or with your boss, communicate. Take the first step. If you're part of a conflict, take the first step. Don't wait around, right? And of course, with organizations, we need to have executive management buy-in for teams to make the first steps towards self-organization. But even under the radar, like a grassroots movement, there can be some local improvements that really help the team, even without a team running through the whole loop approach process. But there's various things that you can do to get the people into the driver's seat, right? So this is all what it's about: getting people into the driver's seat, being aware of themselves, being aware of their surroundings, being aware of what they need, what the team needs, what would be a good idea, what would be a good proposal for an experiment. Is it safe enough to try, right? Just try it out. If we talk it over 100 times and never do anything, nothing will ever change, right? So that's basically what was very compelling to me when I first came across it and when working with teams. So just to summarize what we've covered so far, from ping pong ball to the driver's seat, through alignment that we do, through bringing the purpose to the surface, and through shared goals, right? People's potential through strengths and interests, what is this person really good at? What do they want to learn? What learnings, what skills can they share? Accountability, right, within each role of a team member or within a team, role-based working, right? What is it that this role does? What's the purpose of this role? And really having accountability and freeing team leads and managers from their role as the one and only bottleneck. Personal effectiveness, to see and reflect your own working process. How do you approach work? How do you structure your days, your weeks, and so to be able to ride the wave instead of drowning. Team effectiveness. How do we structure our meetings, new meeting formats, having them facilitated? How are we making decisions? Do we always have to have consensus, or the manager telling us what to do? There's a lot more in that range, right? Structural adaptation. We want to do that with tension-based working, just honing the skill of sensing an opportunity for improvement, and then being able to process it in a fruitful way, and also feedback conflict competence. For instance, through effective communication-based and nonviolent communication. So a question that often comes with basically anything or any framework, right? Suitable for what teams, what types of teams? Like, are there any prerequisites that have to be there? Of course, it's helpful if they kind of work in a dynamic environment, right, where it's not only routine work day by day, but in any team there's at least some sort of dynamic in there. But there's a threefold, right? If I would have to suggest which teams should start, right? So this also is not a big bang thing. So we start with one team at a time and then loop the other teams in. So I would suggest or recommend starting with the teams who have the greatest desire, who really want to go into self-organization, want to learn about how they could do that, and or the team with the biggest pain because of lack of that. And if it's possible, start with a leadership team, right? All right. So as I said, I've been doing this for a while now, and I see I've had great experiences with it. So if you want to find out more about the loop approach, or any other way to help your team get towards self-organization and elevate them to the next level, you can book a free coaching call with me for 45 minutes to discuss your team's transformation. So we'll look at your individual context, your challenges, what your goals are, and then see what sensible next steps would be, regardless of whether you want to continue doing that with me or not. But that's my offer to you after this free training, this webinar. Just scan the code here. I'm also going to send you a link in my follow-up email together with this recording. And happy to see you there. Sorry, my cat just walked in and is chewing very loudly. Hey. No. All right. You might have seen this cat from your registration page. So I hope you cannot hear him. All right. That's it from my input side. Let's see. No. All right, here we are. Okay, so we have a few more minutes for Q&A if you want. If you want to ask me anything about that you just heard, or if you're having any follow-up questions, you can just unmute your mic and ask the question since we're such an intimate crowd. I just checked the chat. There is no question in there. So if you have any questions, shoot.
I would have a question about this alignment phase and the question, or your experience with the question, why does our team exist?
Mm-hmm.
Has that ever been, have you ever encountered the situation where teams didn't know and then somehow felt defensive by asking that question?
Well, sometimes they're like, yeah, we're here to, make marketing or something. But sometimes it's very useful to really clarify what it is that they do. Like, what does this marketing do, right? Is it just, what does it do? Is it informing people? Is it who's the target group? Is it employee branding marketing? Is it what, just to see what their reality is. And sometimes with everything, right, in this framework, we and I offer to, shine a light on that and illuminate that. And if they don't have any issues with their purpose and they really know what they're doing, and maybe they already have that somewhere and that really resonates with them, and we don't have to, artificially spend time on that because it's on the agenda, we can just offer it to them and then see where it goes. And sometimes I found that teams find it very illuminating, right? Also to see what everyone else thinks what they're doing, right? Of course, well, we're the department of marketing, but what do we really do? And then to bring all of these different observations and views and perspectives to the table, and just to get, like a common awareness of the team. I got the feedback that that's quite illuminating for a lot of teams. Does that help you?
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
No worries. Any other questions? Philipp, wenn du redest, dann höre ich dich nicht.
Can't hear Philip. Should I start until you have checked the mic problem? Thanks. My question goes in the direction of the last point you mentioned with who's it suitable for? Because as I understood, it's more an approach for already existing teams which are facing problems that already exist. And my role is now more shifting from managing teams that exist to building teams that don't exist. So more from management to leadership, where I'm building, at the moment, building up a complete new team, which more goes in the direction of an exit or startup. And being aware of all this learnings from the past, like what could happen in managing a team that is not working like together and all this stuff. I want to be ahead of this curve. So I'm trying to build a team which already knows or is aware of problems that might come and establish structures, not to face it, but be ahead of the curve. And I don't know, is this technique right? Or is it more an approach to have a problem and tackle this problem?
Not necessarily. So for any team to be able to stay adaptive, these things that we cover in the loop approach is very helpful. Like no matter if you're a team, if the team has been together for like 10 years or just starting out, like in your case, because the things that you learn and the structures that you build will help you in the future to, like I said, stay ahead of the curve.
So I could guide the team through this whole process without that they actually notice what I am doing. So I know the path and guide them through along the way. What kind of this approach?
Yeah, and well, sometimes you will not have any data from experience that you can draw from, like when we want to shine a light on role-based working, right? So there might be tasks that are like that you could map down ahead of time. Like, okay, when we start working in this team, then these tasks might appear, or these projects might appear, this and this and this, and we have to, structure our team accordingly. But it's a start, and then with for example, the governance meetings where you create new roles, where you create new accountabilities for roles or team rules that they want to play by, you can adapt step by step. But it's a good idea to have that structure already in process or built from the get-go. So it will only help you if you start with that and not wait until something goes wrong and then go through the whole approach. But it's a good idea for a new team to set themselves up for that.
Yeah, because what I realized is I tried to establish different, like you said, methods like Kanban, Scrum, whatever. Tried around also a little bit of like OKR, but that's quite new to me. And I always notice the question is okay, that's would be a nice way of handling our tasks, but what are our tasks? What is my role? And all this framework above is missing. So but I know what is missing, and I know where to put the person, but the person itself is not understanding. So the feedback is the problem, and not the system itself.
Yeah, I understand. But yeah, it can help you with that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Finally. Great. Just what I'm trying to do is to summarize this in my own words, and please correct if there are any misunderstandings from your presentation. If I got this right, because you said framework and not method all the time, those 3 workshops targeting clarity, results, and evolution, those are not like set workshops that you are going to repeat in any time. It's more like, because you called it framework, a guidance to say that if you want to improve teams, you should do in this order something that belongs to the part of clarity, touching on alignment, on people's potential. Then you do something that belongs to focus on results. How do we get to those results? How do we, for example, do the meetings? And then do we have something in place that allows for evolution? So it's more like a guiding principle in what you actually do in methods, in how you're going about it. Maybe you even use team building. This is more or less open to what do you think is best in the situation, right?
Exactly. Although this loop approach, the actual workshops that we do initially follow some kind of structure, right? So, like I said, there's a whole variety of methods how to do stuff, and we just suggest and offer some that have been proven useful, but at the same time, like you said, when you find another method that works better for this team or is more resonates more with this team, it's all good, right?
Okay.
As long as it creates clarity, as long as it creates results, as long as it helps the evolution of the team.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
No worries. All right. We're pretty much on time. So let's see. Where are we? Here we are. Yeah, so Again, the invitation to book this free call with me if you want. I will send you the link to my Calendly also in the follow-up email for this. You will get the replay from the session, and I hope it was. I hope you feel like it was worth spending your lunch hour with me. I had great fun. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for your questions, and looking forward to seeing and hearing you again. And now I wish you a great rest of the day. Take care, and I see you around.
Thanks.
Same. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.